really appreciate the welcome. I must tell you that when I first met your pastor, your leader, Mark, I was astounded, completely astounded. And when he spoke to me about coming down here to be with you all, and he said, there really are people who want to know about the Torah. And I said, yeah, right. But I'm now completely persuaded, and I'm truly very honored that you're having me here this evening. I appreciate that very much indeed. Now, what I'm hoping is that it's okay with you if we just do away with the introductions, all the material. I was going to start off with telling you about where I come from and what this is all about and what my ministry is all about. How to be if we just dispense with all that and we just dive right into the material? Will that be good? Wonderful. Let's start off with a little bit of mind interaction. I want you to think for a moment about the following predicament. Imagine that you are suddenly cast back 900 years in time to some village in England or in Germany or in France, and it's 900, 1,000 years ago, not great times. But there you are, and all of a sudden a bunch of villagers with pitchforks surround you, and you're cursing this time machine that malfunctioned. And these folks now, they're going to kill you or throw you into a prison or enslave you. And it's very frustrating because you know that if you could just reach into your pocket and pull out a big cigarette lighter, they'd bow down and worship you. Imagine what would happen if you could pull out a laptop with a DVD. Anyone remember the old movie Lawrence of Arabia? That's a good one. Flip open your laptop, pop in Lawrence of Arabia, turn it on, and the next time you look at the villagers, they're going to be on their knees, prostrating themselves to you. You're God. There's only one snag, ladies and gentlemen, and that is, in my little thought experiment, I'm afraid I prohibit bringing along any packages of any kind. You don't even have your watch on you, not even a ballpoint pen. Just the clothes you're wearing, and that looks mighty strange to them too. My question to you is, what can you do to persuade them of how valuable you are to them? They should not kill you. I mean, remember, they're living in a world, no electricity, no compass, no clocks, no charts, no cleanliness, no waterborne hygiene or sewerage systems, no nothing. And all of these things you know about. Just look how useful you could be to them. But you do understand that if you talk to them and say, hey folks, you don't want to kill me, I want to tell you all about nuclear power, they'll kill you even quicker because you're mad. My question is, and just dwell on this for 10 seconds, can you think of anything at all that you could say that would persuade them not to kill you, that you're actually valuable? In order to save time, if you do have any ideas, you should tell me afterwards, and it'll save me from making a fool of myself next time I tell the story, because I do not know of anything you could tell them. I truly don't. And I've been grappling with this one for a number of weeks, and I've actually presented it to groups of people. Nobody has come up with one thing. One guy on my radio show came up with the idea. He said, well, I know how to brew beer, so that ought to please them. There's only one problem, and that is they'd already figured out how to brew beer. They did have beer already. As a matter of fact, when the water well got poisoned by all the sewage flowing around, they used to drink beer. You know why beer was safe? Because they knew that to make beer, you had to boil the water with the hops and the wheat and the rye for several hours, which killed all the bacteria. But it never occurred to them to boil drinking water out of the well. So the beer was safe. Meanwhile, people were dropping like flies who were drinking water. There's something to tell your wife next time you have a long, frothy one. Dear, this is healthier than water. I don't think there's anything you can tell them. What are you going to do? Tell them, hey, you guys, you really should have flushing toilets here. Nice dream, but there's no running water. Oh, yeah, no running water. Well, you guys need to lay pipes. What, out of PVC? Like, what do you want us to run pipes? What are pipes? Nobody knows these things. You're stuck. You with me on that? It's very, very difficult to come up with anything that would prevent them killing you. All right. Now we move to the next thought experiment. The next thought experiment is that your purpose now is to civilize an island populated by barbaric savages. These people do nothing but murder and mug and rob and rape all day long, and your desire is to civilize them. Now, you have several tools at your disposal. You do have the power to manipulate weather to some extent. You can make it rain or not make it rain. You can make it blow winds. I'm giving you certain powers here. I'm even giving you the power of imparting subliminal ideas into the minds of these people. But it can't be too bizarre and outlandish because it'll just waft out of their minds immediately. For instance, if you start telling these guys that they ought to start an orchestra and run an opera performance, you know, one of them will wake up in the morning and say, oh, I just had this crazy idea. We should make music and have people dance around and, forget it, let's go kill someone. So it's, you can impart certain thoughts, but there's limits as to what can be done that way. You got a problem here. Oh, by the way, there's only one fundamental rule that you may never violate, and that is these people may never see you. They may never actually meet you. You may not disclose yourself to them. All your powers are so terrifying and so frightening that you will utterly rob them of all their humanity. They will become your psychological slaves, because they will be overwhelmed by your power. So you may not disclose yourself, but you've got to somehow find a way to change these barbaric savages into human beings who cooperate with each other and who make the island grow verdant and luxurious, and they are people who then marry and raise families and live in peace and tranquility. That's your job. You've got to get the island to do this. Any ideas on how you might tackle this job? It's not that simple. You know what they ought to do, but how do you get them to do it? You see, if you were to just parachute in 50 Cadillacs, would that help? There are no roads, there's no gasoline, there's no infrastructure. And all that'll happen is those guys who do capture the Cadillac as it parachutes in for a landing, what they'll do is they'll turn it into a fortress. They'll get into it and discover this marvelous machine has the capacity to stop the arrows of our enemies, and they'll just launch more raids out of this thing. But it won't occur to anybody this Cadillac is actually more useful than just as a stationary fortress. What are you going to do? Well, after you struggle with this problem, and you're figuring out, look, I really have to civilize this island of barbaric savages, and I can't show myself, how would it be if I lay out a book of instructions and directions, and I could just parachute that in? Maybe somebody could find that one day. You give that a try. They find it, looks pretty old, they read it. Doesn't make too much sense. I mean, part of it is a story of how they came to be on this island, and the rest has some rule. I mean, they'll use it for firewood. That book's not, well, I've got a good idea. We'll put it on stone. That'll do it. Not going to help. They're not going to do anything with it. I mean, imagine going to a street gang, just assuming for the moment that such a thing exists in Tacoma, and go along and suggest to them that they all should become nuclear physicists, or brain surgeons. Tell them they'll really have a better life. Any chance? None whatsoever. When people are murdering and mugging and robbing and raping, there doesn't really seem to be a whole lot else in life worth doing. What are you going to do? How are you going to persuade them? Oh, you can let off a few volcanoes and terrify them. I mean, that'll be fun for a day or two. It's not going to get anything done. You see, the game is quite serious. This game has a name. The name of this little game is If You Were God. And the island filled with barbaric savages. Why? That's us. All of us. And the problem is, what do you do if you're God? The answer is that you need to assemble a secret team of infiltrators. Assemble them off island, and then let a few of them come ashore after you have taught them all about the instruction book. And there's no question that a whole lot of them are going to get killed. No question about it, because if somebody with an instruction book and a deep conviction that life is better if we follow this instruction book, and somebody like that comes into a band of murderous, barbaric savages, the odds are he's not going to do too well. Right? The early missionaries to Africa got eaten. That's true. So there's no question that as you assemble your team of infiltrators, you have to tell them, look, life's not going to be simple. I have a mission for you. Your mission is to civilize this island. And you are going to stand out. There's no question about it. Because in a society filled with murderous savages who are barbaric robbers and rapers and murderers and muggers, you are going to stand out because your own behavior doesn't fit in. And people never like the good kid in school. Normal kids don't like the good kid. And that's going to be just how it is with you. So life as an infiltrator is not going to be easy, but it is going to be deeply satisfying because, number one, you have a special relationship with me. I'm your boss. And furthermore, you can take these powerful tools and these permanent principles and these timeless truths that are in my book, and you can make an enormous difference in the lives of the people on the island. Because if you do not do this, they're not long for this world. They're going to end up destroying themselves. And so you have an important mission. And so the infiltrators start doing things. And you've got to set up a system that the infiltrators will stay true to the mission generation after generation, because you have time. But you want the job to get on. And so you'll set up a system where one of the main rules is that the members of your team of infiltrators are obliged to study the book. No matter how well they know it, they are obliged to study it anyways. Even if they've gone through it 10 times, they should go through it another 50 times and another 90 times. Because that way they're all going to absorb the significance. They're able to absorb the message until it becomes part of them. Because they're going to have to be more than people who know how to explain it. They're going to be people who have to live it themselves. Because if they don't live it themselves, they're not going to be persuasive in any way at all, right? Well, the book is there. The infiltration team gets to work, and they take a look at this island, and they realize that there are a lot of problems, but many of them can be encapsulated in two fundamental areas: sex and money.